507 DUIs. That is our highest volume case count. There's nothing more that's going to take over the top dog in crimes in Lincoln County. It's just those DUIs, and I think we do a great job of education. I do just think that we have a lot of vacationers here who are ready to enjoy themselves and vibe a little bit too much and get on the road. 225 of our open cases are domestic violence. Again, that's anywhere from a harassment, meaning an offensive touch, to a felony assault on that person. 68 of our cases are child abuse. 50 of those are sex abuse. 15 are, that doesn't add up. 68 are the total number of child abuse cases in the office. 50 are a result of a sex abuse, and then 18 are the physical abuse. 55 with fraud, that's anything from a bad check to a forgery, and then 46 with our timber or animal or wildlife abuse. Not necessarily abuse, our wildlife cases. If anyone here are hunters, or fisher people or any of that, people in Lincoln County are very protective of their natural resources. Again, I used to have the wildlife caseload, and I am very protective of making sure that people are following the rules. It's unfair to have somebody out there, hunting whenever the heck they want or fishing and taking whatever fish they want, and everybody else is trying to make sure that our resources are maintained for future generations. And I think that's really important that we make sure that people who are not following the rules have some accountability. And then I've got like 400 other cases that are just miscellaneous. Again, a ton of meth and a ton of heroin come out of Lincoln City. It's a nice corridor straight to Salem that I've seen tons of times where people are trafficking in Salem, and they've got runners coming down here to Lincoln City. And so David Broderick is your drug team detective. He does as much as he can, and you all know, I don't know if you know, but our Lint team, which was our inter-county drug task force, disbanded last year, and it's no fault of Lincoln City's, because Lincoln City had been committed the entire time, and I'm sure if you talk to Chief Killian, he would admit that he's still committed. So that's what we do in my office. I don't know if I went over time. I didn't really check the time when I started. I've got, I can break it down to violations of restraining orders, stalking orders, contempt. I don't really think that I can bore you any longer with numbers. If you guys have any...
Open it up to questions.
Yeah, questions. Sure.
One of the best individuals I think that's ever been in Lincoln County was Judge Little Ailes.
Yeah.
He started out as district attorney or assistant DA,
right.
District attorney, then worked his way onto the bench. Is that someplace you'd like to go?
I can tell you unequivocally no. They have such a hard job, and I got a great job. We have so much fun in my office, and I have so much fun with the detectives. I mean, crime is obviously horrible, but when you have a twisted sense of humor and a real passion for making sure that you victims have a voice in the court, I don't have any aspiration to do that. That may change. I know the judges that are up there now are doing a great job. I wouldn't complain about one of them. Two of them came from the office. They were actually folks that mentored me. Judge Bockhart and Judge Sanders hired me. Judge Sanders actually hired me with Bernice Barnett. She was the chief deputy at the time, and they taught me basically everything I know about prosecution. But their job it's way more tough, and you have to be very appropriate, and it's not for me.
Can you kind of explain a little more so we feel a little more comfortable about rehabbing those people?
Typically, for the domestic violence situations, that's not just a drug and alcohol counseling that they have to complete. They have to complete a 52-week program with Don Chapin's group that says, just rethinking of how you're reacting to stressful situations. So that, in conjunction with the drug and alcohol, in conjunction with sometimes monthly meetings with the judge to see if you're in compliance, are you doing the right thing? No contact with the victim until you're in counseling, so whomever it is. And so there's a lot of safety guards. People slip through, but I got to tell you, if it's in my control, we have 4 layers of protection until the person is actually maybe making better choices before they can have contact with their victim or, go back into the family.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Hope Court, and I guess it's related to Heather's question there. What's the boundary? You say if they don't comply, they go on to prison or so on. who determines how is that determined, or?
So there are times where, as the DA, I'll say, this person's maximum exposure is 75 months, and you're going to have to plead to 150 months in order to buy your way into Hope Court. So that means if you violate the terms of your probation, you go away for double what you would have if you just walk in and plead right now. So there's a big incentive there. That's the DA's job. Now, there are times where I will say, your agreement with me is that you don't have any violations in your probation. That means you don't use substances, you don't drink alcohol, you don't have contact with your spouse, whatever it is. It's got to be drug related. But if you violate those, I'm not going to accept any explanation as to why this may be in your urine, or why this you didn't go to work, or you lost your job, or something like that. And there are other times, and if anyone here knows the cycle of drug abuse, you're going to relapse. That is just part of what goes on, especially with meth and heroin. You're not going to have those one-time shot deals. People that I do that to, that's the folks that have already been through the system so frequently that I am not interested in giving them another shot. So that's a different category. Now, the category of people who maybe have not had a ton of rehab or a ton of information about substance abuse, then I'll say, probation officer, you go ahead and supervise them, give them whatever you would normally someone on probation. And so that would be random drug tests and treatment and education. There's going to be lapses in those, and sometimes they won't go straight to prison, but the judge ultimately is the deciding factor. The judge will hear the case and say, okay, you violated your probation, you're in this Hope Court, and it's Judge Branford. And a lot of times he gives them another chance, and sometimes he says, no, that's it, Hope Court was a one-time deal for you, and you're heading to prison. Yeah. Back.
How do you determine community service for these people that seem to don't want to play with the law?
Yeah.
And do you have things that would maybe after a little community service they might change their mind?
Sometimes we do that. In fact, most of our misdemeanor programs, we do assign community service. The problem we have no money in the county to actually supervise misdemeanor probationers. So we could say, you need to do 80 hours community service and you have to turn it in on a certain day. If they don't, they just get a probation violation, spend some time in jail, and then they get a chance to do it again. But if I had someone that was a counselor or a probation officer that could track our program like that, they would be out doing work crew and things like that, tracking it. But yeah, we do that regularly for community service for some folks, because you can't have someone who committed a sex crime go and do school, community resources, or I don't even want them in the libraries or things like that. And so it's going to have to be something like litter cleanup or something like that. So those are more difficult to locate.